We're back in business. We gotta get going here. We got like 35 minutes, and then we will literally stop at noon or 5 till, and then I'm gonna pick up next week. Well, next session, we'll pick up next session. All right. Let's talk about hospital visitation. Really nuts and bolts of that. We've mentioned that a little bit. My brain went a little awry with that one. So, visiting sick shut-ins. Don't stay too long. But how long is too long? That's always a fun part. And so getting a gauge of that has a lot of variables to it. It's usually determined by the closest to the patient, to how well you know them. So when Pastor Howell was looking to retire, Pastor goes, "Well, you got to do a hospital visitation." I go, "Why me?" He goes, "Well, because you're doing the whole counseling thing. That should fit, and you know a lot of the people already. Because if we brought someone in new, they'd have to that whole build relationships. So." So it's really good to know. It's kind of funny because I get a call, go see someone. I go, who in the world is this person? Oh my gosh, I don't know who they are. So I try to figure out who they are. Are they members? And we get calls all the time. Can you go see? That's before COVID. Can you go see so and so at the hospital and go visit with them? Okay, we'll go see them. And they had no connection to the church at all. And I would always say, and the thing Pastor taught me was, ask them if they know we're coming and they're open for us to visit and pray with them. That's real important. Because sometimes they don't do that and they send us and they walk in there and they get mad at us. That doesn't go well. Now, they go, well, they want you to come visit, but they may not want you to pray. Are they open to us to visit? Yes, okay. So I'm not going to I'll tell you what, if I'm at Beaumont Troy and they're there, I'll stop by the room. But I'm not going to go out there because if it's unclear, I won't because I don't want to go out there and cause a lot of trouble. And it takes an hour to go to Beaumont Troy and get to someone in for a 5-minute visit that they want to kick you out of the room. What's the point?
Would you call first?
It's really hard to do that.
Okay.
It just doesn't work. You
How
would think
did you get there though?
you get that you know that if I know the hospital name, I can find the patient.
No. I mean, like how did you get from somebody saying you need to go see this person?
They'll call the church and say, "Can you go see so and so?" Then we will. If it's someone from the church, we're going. Okay. If it's someone that's not from the church, don't know who this person is. There's no connection to us. Okay, their cousin or whatever, their relative, son, daughter, mother, whatever. Are they open to a pastor coming to come pray with them? Is a question that we ask.
This would be my strategy. Would I call that person, like if you said, Jerry, my brother, Jerry Hodges says, we got to pay for my sister.
Right.
Well, obviously, I said, Jerry, well, go with me. Let's go together.
We can do that,
like that.
but then logistically that doesn't work out too well because a lot of times it's a narrow window. They're in the hospital, you go visit and then coordinate all that. So usually the hospital call comes in, and this is what happens. I mean, we get a call, so and so's in the hospital. I send out, and you guys will be getting copies of this eventually too. I send an email out to all the pastors, and Josie's seen it. I send it to all the pastors and elders, and it includes lay ministers too. Where you're doing a list of who's in the hospital. Well, what happens is I'll go see that person, and I'll go pray with them. And usually when I send the email, I literally went to go see them at the hospital, and then I send the email and kind of get information. Okay, let's pray for this person. So, but I just get that information that morning, the day before, and we go then because they could be gone the next day. So you walk in, you get the information, you follow up, you call them, and you don't call, you show up at the hospital. If I got a name, okay, they give you the room number, and you always, whenever you go to the hospital, if I'm told a room number in room 1426, next day, guess what? They will not be there. You always check with the front desk where they're at and ask, and they'll ask me, what's the room number? I go, I have no idea, and I go, because it don't change yesterday. You guys. They change. I mean, literally, I've been in, walked in a room, and they're wheeling them out to the next room. Okay, I'll walk with you. Okay, they move them around a lot, so it's good to check in. And the front desk will be given one number, and then they change it to another one when you ask the nurse station. And the nurses, when that happens, they're usually very helpful if they can be. They're often very, very busy, but they'll try to help you find the patient. Okay, but so there's that whole thing, but. So if they go, there's an invitation to go. When time wise, if you know them, you'll probably stay a little bit longer than you would think. If they don't know you, it'd be a little bit shorter, and that's okay. There's no set. Just what is their prayer need, and pray with them, and that's it, and that's okay. Sometimes I've gone in, I spent an hour in the hospital room, and because they're bored, And they're like, I'm going nuts in this place. Come talk to me, Pastor Randy. Tell me some funny stories. Okay, because this is driving me crazy. And you do that, and that's okay. So there's a lot of variables with it. A lot of times when you show up, that just, again, the ministry of presence. The ministry of presence makes a big deal. With shut-ins, nursing homes, you'll tend to stay a little bit longer because, again, time, they enjoy the visit. They enjoy someone come by, see them. And there's always, when they're in the nursing home environment, it changes a lot. There's a lot of variables, but there's a lot of dead time. And it's really good to know when that dead time is. Like nursing homes, don't show up at lunchtime or breakfast. It's too crazy. So like mid-afternoon is a good time. Morning time. Usually doctors going to the hospital like between 9 and 10 is not a good time to go do visitation because doctors are making rounds. Rounds are usually done. Each hospital is different, but usually by 10. They're done with rounds. Then you can go in and see. Now some doctors, I've seen doctors show up a lot of times, and that's okay. But in generally they do a lot of that early in the morning. So between 10 and noon is a good time. Then between 2 and 4 is a good time, and then 7 past to like 9 or so. You can before COVID, you can go to the hospital 24/7 and go visit. And that was if I get a phone call, it's someone serious, I'm going. Whatever hours it is, and we'll go and we'll pray with them and so forth. Pre-surgery prayer, 5 a.m. Here we go. Hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. But we'll show up and let's just talk about this. One of the great things I learned from Pastor Howe on pre-surgery prayer. I just did this the other day. Is not in the outline notes here. Okay. Is that I always find out what time do you need to be at the hospital. And even COVID, it's even more important. Because if I meet them at the door and pray with them there, once at pre-surgery prayer, if you show up after they have arrived, they take them back and you're in the waiting room waiting an hour. Right now, you can't wait in the waiting room. Right now, you can't. I've gone to some place where they won't even let me in the door. I prayed with Tom Huggins on the sidewalk outside the hospital. And again, the power of presence, when I show up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7, 8, 9, makes a big difference. It just because and the person goes, "Why'd you do that?" I go, "Because you're," and I do it because I truly believe this. They're important, and it's important for them to know that we care about them and we're praying for them because that represents God's care for them in a real tangible way. Okay, and those are quick. Those pre-surgery prayers, Pastor and I try to do those as much as we possibly can, but it's been some days. We have downtown Henry Ford and 19, Beaumont Troy, Beaumont Royal Oak, all in one morning. Yeah. I have done one. I go, okay, I hit one. One time I had Beaumont, what is it?
The old Bonsicker?
No, over the ritzy part of, not Detroit, but it actually. Yeah.
Point, yeah, that was the old Bonsicker.
Okay, yeah, okay. That's before my time.
Yeah.
So I was there, then I did Beaumont Royal Oak, Beaumont Troy, or Henry Ford 19. Pastor had to go downtown and Henry Ford, and then he did Beaumont Troy, all in one morning. All that, and they all started like 6:30. I had timed out. I go, I can hit this one, I can hit this one, I can hit this one. I go, Pastor, we got a problem. I go, I can't cover all these. He's like, well, where we got to go? I go, he's like, okay, I'll take this one, you take those. I got it, good. But sometimes I like, okay, who can do a pre-surgery prayer? Lay ministers, elders. We can't cover it.
Yeah.
Or I'm out of town. I'm on vacation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We forget that.
Yeah, we forget that. We didn't have a life.
What happens if they expect the pastors?
What we do if there's a chance of that happening, we'll say if we we'll tell them, okay, we gotten really busy. The pastors, we will try, but be one of the lay ministers, and because we can't make it, and most people have no problem with that. I've never had a problem. Oh my gosh, well you stinking pastors.
What are you doing here?
You think, oh, Pastor Chris should come up. He's a real pastor, but never a problem. We've never had a problem, and it did. Well, I'm like, well, I like seeing a lay minister. There's someone different. They're nicer than you guys. Okay, whatever. But just because someone shows up is what really matters, and they're cared for. That's what matters, and that makes a big difference. Okay, so time again. It could be as short as 5 minutes, 20. 15, 20 minutes, kind of the average is what I kind of see. It may be shorter, maybe longer. A lot of variables. you gotta follow how they move. They get tired. Tiredness is a big indicator. And they can be tired because of medications, what they've gone through. Like the day after surgery, Pastor and I will tentatively won't even bother doing a visit. Because, you had your hip replaced. Who went to see a pastor when you had your hip replaced? Good golly, And there's some they'll give us a call. Well, we want you to come, and okay, I'll go. If I know the person really well, I'm going to stop by and see you because but this is before COVID. With COVID, they're like, nope, can't come in for nothing. They again, depends in the hospital. We can't go in before pre-surgery prayer. We can't see them until they're in their actual room. We can't do I used to be able to go walk right into the post-op and pray to people all the time, and now can't do that. So you got to wait till the room is a general policy. And then right now it's one person per day. So you want to take a family spot away, so that's an issue. So, so be aware that patients will sometimes act in aberrant ways. Aberrant means they're not the medication, the illness. I've someone dealing with diabetes. You didn't know they're diabetic, but they're diabetic, and it's out of whack. So they start doing some really weird stuff and saying some really weird things. That's okay. Don't. When you walk into the hospital room, they may be just their normal selves. They may not, and just be aware of that. And don't cast out a demon out of them. You laugh, but I had someone call me up. This was back in Texas. I had a lay minister team there, and I wasn't the pastoral care pastor, but I got involved with it because of my counseling stuff. So I helped out a little bit. And this one guy he walked in, the guy was going through a diabetic issue, and the guy started casting out a demon on him. I go, you idiot. What were you thinking? And he's like, well, I don't know. I didn't know he was diabetic. I go, he's in the hospital, expect anything. Sit in a place where you can be seen easily. Donna Radcliffe shared this with me. She goes, because she's been a nurse for years. And she goes, when you walk in and you're up here and they're down here, they all look up and they feel he goes, sit down. If you can sit. When I learned that, I go, that's so cool. Because they're and you sit down and talk to them, and they sit in the chair and they get more relaxed. And I've had some really great conversations with people in the hospital. Sometimes, now the thing is, a lot of times they don't have chairs available, or the family member may be sitting in the chair that's there. Right. And so you don't want to take that away from them. And sometimes they're really having a tough time. They're in a late position. They can't. I'll get on my knees and just look them face to face. That connection is really good, and sitting in a chair makes it a lot easier. I was like, wow, this is cool. They're like, oh, okay. It went from formal to more informal, and that's good. If possible, suggest a change of scenery. If they can walk around, they're mobile. Sometimes, depends on the person. The thing the hospital wants, okay, we want you to walk around, go potty twice, the whole 9 yards, so you can get out of here. They go, I want to walk around. Take a lap with me around the floor. Okay, let's walk. Cool. Go to someplace else. That's all right. Because getting out of that room, they've been stuck and they want to get out. That's okay too. Nowadays, people don't stay that long, so they don't get a chance to get bored in the rooms, but that does happen now and then. It's best to visit a hospital during visitation hours. You talked about that. Yes, okay. I'm trying to remind my notes here. Sorry, jump. Okay, so visiting hours is real important. Be aware of them. Again, 10 to noon is a good time. 2 to 4 or 5 is good. 6 to 8 is good. Those are good times to go. If the door is closed, signs posted, do not enter. Check with the nursing staff. Okay, I walked up. Got a call from a guy that I ministered to quite a bit. Prayed for him he had a lot of major surgeries. Prayed for him all the time, and then he went in the hospital. Didn't know about it. Got a call. Hey, he's in the hospital. Can you go pray with him? Well, of course. Got there. He's in ICU. He's in isolation. I'm like, oh crud. And they got signs all over the doors. Cannot enter. And I walked to the nursing station. I go, can I pray with him? Can I get in or no? And he go, well, who are you? I go, I'm his pastor. And I go, okay. And I had to put on the full garb and get in all. I go, okay. And I did. And he was totally out of it. But I went in and prayed with him. And so, but if I would have walked away, because he passed the next day. And so, and there's, they can hear. Someone can maybe be unconscious, but they can hear. And so, whatever that was, that's all to the Lord. But not to walk, because sometimes because you walk in the hospital like, what do I do? This is so weird, and I don't know, if you work at them, it's no big deal. You get used to it. But then you're like well, an outsider. What do I do? How do I do it? And it's really busy. Like these days, when you go to the hospital, it's just busier, and it's like all the staff are really running and going and so forth. And so you're like, okay, don't want to get in the way. I remember walking through the aisles of Henry Ford, like, whoa, they're really busy today. There's sometimes you, huh? They're short staff, and so things are really busy. I've gone into, which is really, now they don't do it because of COVID, but before we'd walk into Henry Ford, Beaumont, Troy, and every bed is full. They have patients in the hallway, and when you walk in, you're walking through all kinds of stuff, and you don't want to react to that. And you're like, okay, they'll sell a bed. They'll tell you a number, like, okay, and you look, it's like it's a spot in the hallway.
It's true.
That's true. This Beaumont, Henry Ford, they're classic. Ascension, Rochester's a little bit less busier, but they get really busy, and that's okay. And you have to navigate that. And then when you're praying for someone in the hallway in their family, well, that gets really. Just pray a little bit louder. That's all right.
You never know who's gonna hear it.
You never know who's going to
Might
hear
say,
it.
"But can you pray for me?"
That's
Yeah,
right. Exactly. The next bed over. I walked out and I went to go see some recently at Ascension in Rochester. One of the heart patients in the cardiac unit. I was praying with this person. They were sharing a room, and my focus is on the person and all that. And I get up and I get ready to go. And the lady next to her goes, "Can you pray for me?" I go, "Well, sure, sweetie. What do you want me to pray for?" So I prayed for her needs. And you never know, and that's okay, and that's okay.
Opportunity.
That's an opportunity, and the fun thing is the person I went to go see, her church member, was strong believer. So when I prayed for her, she took advantage. She started sharing the gospel more with her. So just opened up opportunities. So
And just to kind of open the eyes to right now, like even the hospital chaplain, like there's really just one chaplain for the whole hospital,
Right.
Like because they're
Convenience.
so short staffed.
mm-hmm.
So really,
Makes a
there's
difference.
nobody to talk to any of these patients.
Yeah.
They're so lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because nurses can't spend time with them.
They're flipping through,
Doctors
yeah.
don't spend time
No.
with them. Like it's.
That's a good point.
I've taught this date when you go into the hospital. So I found myself when I can get in, and I go and I'm able to see someone. I found that my visits are actually a little bit longer than normal because they're running through so much. And I know nurses I've talked to through this whole COVID experience, is their load is like major. I remember talking to one nurse, and she said she spends her majority of her time on the phone because families calling in because they can't call if they're like in a COVID unit, they can't even talk on the phone, and so they're trying to get information, and nurses are trying to be advocate, and it's very draining on them. And so I've been like, don't ask nurses questions unless I have to ask a question, but there's that really a lot of going on with everything. It's just made everything more. It's amped up everything for everybody. Plus low staff.
But you're right. My father was in the hospital the last week of September here. He lives in Florida. They were visiting. So he ended up in emergency and the gentleman next to him.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was in there 4 days. And the gentleman had his granddaughter come twice in the evening, only because she worked. So that was the only family member. So, my dad, and again, because of the way we were raised, we were with my dad all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We'd switch out siblings, But we would ask John, do you need anything or whatever? And he was in and out, but he appreciated at least somebody talking to him other than the nursing staff or the doctors.
Right. Yep.
So,
There was just in September. I don't know which hospital, but at one of the hospitals in the area, they were put I know someone was put into. They went to ER for a couple things, and they had several things going on, and the ER had to hold them for 3 days in this consultation room type of thing. So it wasn't a regular ER room, but they had to stay in that area. They didn't have beds available to move into the room or staff available to cover those rooms. So and it's in 3 days. So then they got transferred to a whole different hospital that had more availability. And it was this long process. So things are running a lot slower than what they used to. And so a lot of time on there. So when we can get in, it's great. Knock on the door before you enter. The door's closed. a little tap is good because they may be not in a good position to you walk in. So we'll open slowly, listen really good, knock as hard as you can, and somebody will come in. Who's there? And they, oh, so and so from the church, or oh, great. And then wait, okay, well wait. That's okay. If the person is asleep, click on here. If the person, wait, did I skip one? The person, That's the person leave a note. If you offer, okay,
Medical personnel.
if medical, okay, my notes are not, okay, medical personnel arrive, perform certain procedures, excuse yourself, return when they have finished. It's really different when a doctor or a technician or a nurse has to do something. You can say, I'll step out. If the doctor shows up, wants to talk to him, I'll step out. Okay, no problem. Now, the funny thing is, I think most people are like, well, okay, this is private. No, they won't. No, just stay. You can hear whatever, and the doctors don't care. If you're present in the room, because there's HIPAA's confidentiality. It's applied to all medical people, and they can't. If you call the hospital, give me information about this patient. They can't tell you diddly. The nurses can't tell you about the condition. They, only like when they're like end of life will they tell pastors anything. Okay, and then they'll be very open with us. Not just because the way the rules are. So if they walk in, if you're there present with the patient, they can tell the patient anything you can hear. It's up to the patient to say that you should leave. But you should always offer to take away the weirdness of it. Say, hey, I'm gonna step out while they talk to you. If they say, okay, that's cool, and I'll come back. Okay, cool. If they say no to stay, then you can stay. That's fine. That's fine. It's up. You leave. Let the patient make that decision, and that's fine. I've been surprised some people are like, no, you stick around and stay for all this stuff. I'm, okay, And then the funny thing is, I'll stay. I've run into this. But I walk in the room, and then, like I say, the son or daughter's there, being with mom or dad, trying to take care of them, and then I walk in, and they go, can you stick around for a little bit? I'm gonna get some lunch. I go, well, yeah, I'll stay, no problem, cool. You go, when you come back, I'll leave. Well, then the doctor comes in when the patient leaves. I go, okay, well, what do we do here? And so the doctor got all the information. So then I think, wait a minute. If I was that child that just left, I don't want to know what exactly the doctor said. And then I'll make notes, or I'll be real clear. Okay, and I'll ask questions. I go, okay, I'm going to relay this to the son. Tell me this, tell me that. What would I want to know? And I do that. And I did it one time, and they go, you do that better than my kids. I go, well, okay. So when it came back, the doctor said this, and this. And I go, okay, cool. So. And that's part of you may fall into that role, and that's as long as the patient lets you do so, they welcome you. Cool, go with it. No big deal. Again, roll with it because you never know what's going to happen. If the person's asleep, it's on here. Yeah, leave a note. That's always a good thing to do. Don't like I always take my little business cards with me, and I'll find a little piece of paper and say, hey, I was here. You were sleeping. Didn't want to bug you. Goodbye. I'll come back. And then if I say I'll be back, this is one of the things that we always do. Understand this, passion. My goal is that someone gets pre-surgery prayer. If they go for prayer, if they go to ER, we try to go see them in the ER. Now we can't. Now before COVID, we can go in, no big deal. Now we can't go in, but we go and so we like to. If they go to ER, we go see them then. So that's kind of like a pre-surgery ER is the same type of visit, if you would. Then go do one visit if they're in the hospital. Okay. So when that comes up, what happens is that we see them once, and that will mean that if they're asleep, then they don't know we visit them. So we'll always go back to if they're out doing a procedure, having something going on, whatever. We will go back to and see them later on. So if I give you a hospital call, and you show up in the room after surgery, they're in a regular room, and they weren't there for whatever reason, what's the expectation? We want you to try to see them again another time. If you don't, if they're gone or they're asleep, you can always ask the nurse, hey, I came here to pray with them, they're asleep, or they're out of the room for a procedure. When's a good time for me to come back? What do you think? And the nurse will say, I come back around this time. They'll have around when food comes around or whatever, they'll give you an idea and then come back that time. So if you can leave a note, cool, but do we want you to go back and see them again? If they haven't had any visit, yeah, we really want you to go see them. And make the assumption that you're the only one that's visited them. And take that responsibility with it. Because again, we really try to make sure we see them before when they first arrive, and then one more time after that. We really try to do that, but sometimes we can't. And sometimes, okay, you're my only hope here, okay? For whatever reason, and just assume, okay, that pastor, and they walk in, pastor was here earlier in the day. This is one thing too. Pastor and I have this rule. If someone goes in the hospital, has surgery, now pre-surgery prayer, we make sure we cover with one of us. But ER, general hospital visit, it's kind of funny. I've showed up, been praying with someone and getting all done, pray with them. Here comes Pastor really walking in right after I go, well, Grace showed me up in prayer. Here we go. And that's okay. We rather care too much than not enough. So if I get if we show up and you show up, cool. Winner, chicken dinner.
Better twice than none.
Yep.
Right, that's my thing.
Right.
Better twice than none.
Better twice than none. Better twice than none. And so that's the rule. We rather have it too much than too little. And so, and it's kind of funny, like, and like, he was like, I remember one time watching, he's like, what are you doing here? I go, well, I got lunch and swung by and thought it'd be no big deal. He goes, well, last dog, I was going to cover it. Another trip is, we're good. So anyways, so it's all good. It's all good. Okay, if you wish to offer help, just be specific with it. Like, there's nothing I can do for you. They'll say no. If you're like, oh, can I help you with your kids? Can I help you with, do you need transportation getting home? Find out about that. We've had that come up once in a while. Someone's like, the hospital ready to discharge them, they have no way of getting home. And so we will call lay ministers, say, hey, can you pick up? Are you available? That's one of the unique things what lay ministers, we'll call you for that. Didn't know that was going to happen, but that's happened quite a bit. Someone needs to go pick them up, and the folks we call I'll call you guys for having Aaron and Jordan do it. But I will give you a call. Can you? And you got to say, I think I can do that. You think your car's safe? Some people, I can't. My pickup truck's too tall or whatever. Okay, but you got to say, I can do that, and I have a time available, and that sort of thing. So, and we'll do that. But that's happens. That's one of those things that I need help getting home. And then like we've had people like I need help. We had this one family. They had no family here. They just moved to church. We're here, just became members. That's how it happened. They just became members, so they're like just 6 months, moved into town for 6 months, had no family here. So their friendship was church. And so the wife had to work. Husband was going for knee surgery, and he needed someone to take him for surgery. Called me up, can you help me do it? And I think I was out of town. I think I was on vacation. I go, I can't. So call the lay minister. Who can help me? Okay. So that's what, so specific needs come up. Okay. But ask it. Be specific. Are you good getting home? Will you be okay getting home? Is there anything we can do to help you? Don't say you, because you may not be able to follow through on it because of life. And that's okay. But, say there's a whole team of us to help do this type of sort of thing. Is there anything that we can help you with? And they can say, yes, no, I need my grass cut. Okay, that's all sitting Aaron and Jordan at. But we'll figure it out. We'll help get things done. Or we'll find resources. They'll like. We had this one gal. She's a single gal in the church, really sweet gal. Her parents passed away. I did both her parents' funerals, and it's just her. No siblings. She's the only child. She just has friends at church and friends in the community. And she was missing for a while. And I called her up, and she goes, "I'm not good." I go, "What do you mean?" I could tell in her voice she was having a diabetic issue. And she was home on the floor for 2 days.
Oh my goodness.
And so I on my way there, I go, and I could tell in the way she was talking, I go, this is not good. So I called 911. They sent the ambulance and fire engine. They busted in, and they got her out. By the time I got there, she was a good distance. So I literally said, I'm going to hang up. I'm going to call 911. You stay there. I'll give them your number. I'll put you on the phone with 911 until I get there. By the time I got there, the fire department was there, and the ambulance was there, and they busted in already, and they took her out. But then she had a whole lot of stuff that had to be taken care of. She had her pets. So we had someone go swing by the house and take care of the pets. I had a couple of lay ministers go by the house and feed the cat. I think it was a cat or a dog. I don't know what it was. And they took care of that. Had some people help with a car that needed to be serviced because she had a car that was she was in the hospital for a long time. And so that was a thing. But I called the lay ministers. We had a couple things to take care of, and it all worked out good. Yeah, but it's the we of us to do things like that makes a big difference.
I was just thinking.
Meals are more. We don't have a regular program to do that. We're always open to do something like that. But we've done that for for short term. What we do for shut-ins is one thing that Marlena Kettle Hut. She works with the county's resources, and there's Meals for Wheels. If there's someone that has a need for that for seniors, we will tap them into the right resources. And Marlena's really great. She's like, okay, we can help. The county can help with this. Help with that. No, the county, because of their income or whatever, they're not going to do anything, so we got to do something. So we that's an individual situation that we can evaluate. But Meals on Wheels really in the county will deliver to anybody. And there's no, for meals for seniors long term, that we can cover that way. For folks that like out of the hospital, they need, then we kind of get to rally people up. Hey, we're doing this. Organize that. We'll do that. We try to do our best with that. We're organizing that as it comes out. But
Yeah, because if it's only for a week.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
And I come up with 7 people that can make a
Right.
meal once and just
Yep,
take
and
it
do
to
it that way.
them.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we've done that too. Done that too.
Okay.
So,
Thank
okay.
you.
Okay. I'm gonna end it. What's my next point?
The care you.
The care you give to not okay. If the care you give to is not just to the person in the bed, but also the relatives and close friends for the sick. Part of your time may be spent with them. One of the unique things, if I do a pre-surgery prayer, if I show up and they're not there, but a family member is, I'll talk to the family member. And I've had some great conversation with spouses, children. Some are unbelievers, some are believers, some are, and just minister to them at that time. And that's perfectly fine. And that's okay. And so, so I'll never push that off. When you go and you pray with them, if family members are present, this is one thing I like when I do, and I'll stop at this point. When I go and I pray with them, I always hold their hand. That's important. Because as patients, people don't hold their hand that much.
Mm-hmm.
That aren't family. So that makes a difference. Then I'll have the spouse, family on the other side, hold hand. And I've had the whole bed surrounded. Okay, cool. And we all pray together. Include them, don't exclude them. Even if they're unbelievers. I remember one time, I've done this a few times, like, if you can tell, like, feel really awkward praying because they're not there. Okay, let's pray anyways. And that's going to be good. Include them, and that's because you're ministering to them also. Okay? We're going to stop here at this point, and I'll pick up the rest and finish this up next time. And we'll go from there. I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much for coming out. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Pastor. This is good.
Yeah, it is.